Many parents feel that helping their grown children is simply part of love. You spent decades caring, supporting, giving, and it feels natural to keep doing that even when they're adults. And in many ways, that instinct is beautiful. But there's something we don't often talk about: how this pattern, when it continues too long or too often, can quietly place a weight on your own shoulders, a weight that you may not even notice at first. It's like carrying a small bag of stones every day. One stone doesn't feel heavy, but over time, without realizing it, you're dragging a burden that slowly exhausts you. Aging brings new realities. What felt easy in your 40s, the extra job, the overtime hours, the quick recovery from financial setbacks, may not feel the same in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. That's not because you're weak or doing anything wrong, it's because life asks something different of you now: more rest, more stability, more gentleness with yourself. Your heart is still as generous as ever, but your body and your future require a kind of wisdom that sometimes means saying "not this time" when a child asks for money. And I know how complicated that feels. Guilt shows up quickly. Questions swirl in your head. If I don't help, will they think I don't love them? Will they struggle without me? These thoughts are natural. They come from years of devotion. But here's a quiet truth worth sitting with. You are not failing as a parent if you choose to protect your own security. In fact, by taking care of yourself, you're teaching your children one of the most important lessons of adulthood: how to live responsibly, how to prepare for the future, how to respect limits. Think for a moment. What does love really look like at this stage of life? Is it measured only in money, or is it found in the wisdom you share, the example you set, the stories you pass down? The reality is, your retirement is not just about you. It's about the peace of mind of your whole family. If you end up without resources, your children may one day feel the pressure to support you, and that cycle can become a burden for them too. So, in a strange way, caring for your financial boundaries is also a gift to them. I invite you to pause and ask yourself gently: when you give money, is it out of love or out of fear of disappointing them? Do you feel lighter after helping, or secretly a little anxious? Your honest answers might surprise you. And remember, love doesn't disappear when money is withheld. Love can grow stronger through presence, through conversations, through being there in ways that no dollar amount can replace. Before we go further, I'd love to know, where are you reading this from? Share your city in the comments. Sometimes simply knowing where we all are in the world makes these reflections feel like a warm circle of conversation, not just words on a screen. There comes a moment when what begins as a gesture of kindness slowly turns into something different, something heavier. At first, giving money to your adult child feels like the right thing to do. It eases their struggle, it reassures you that you're still able to protect them. But over time, what was meant as temporary help can quietly become a pattern of dependence, and suddenly you realize the lines have blurred. I once spoke with Linda, a warm-hearted woman of 68. After her son went through a painful divorce, she stepped in to help him with rent, just for a few months. She felt proud she could offer that lifeline, and it made her feel useful in a moment when he was hurting. But as months turned into years, she noticed her savings shrinking in a way she had never imagined. She would look at her retirement account and feel a pang of fear, but then silence it with the thought, "He needs me more than I need the money." It took her nearly 5 years to realize that she was no longer helping. She was carrying a load her son was meant to learn to carry himself. It's easy to see yourself in Linda's story, isn't it? Because at the heart of it lies love, and love always makes us stretch beyond what's comfortable. Yet real love also respects boundaries. And boundaries are not walls, they are gentle lines drawn to keep relationships healthy even when emotions run deep. You might ask yourself, how can I know if my giving has crossed that invisible line? One way is to take a quiet look at the numbers. Write down how much you've given over the past year, even if it's just little transfers here and there. Add it up and see it as a total. Sometimes that number reveals more than words can. Then sit with a simple question. If I needed medical care tomorrow, would I still feel safe with the resources I have? If the answer makes you uneasy, that's your inner wisdom speaking. Another way to check is to notice how you feel after you give. Do you feel light, or do you feel a shadow of anxiety? Generosity should leave your heart warm, not heavy. And if heaviness lingers, it may be time to adjust how you show support. That adjustment doesn't have to mean cutting your children off completely. It can be as gentle as shifting the form of your help. Instead of monthly cash, perhaps it's offering a warm meal, helping with childcare, or simply being a steady listener when they feel lost. Those forms of support often matter more than money, and they don't quietly erode the foundation of your own future. Remember, protecting your retirement isn't selfish, it's responsible. It allows you to face your own later years with dignity, and it ensures that your children won't have to carry the burden of rescuing you down the road. That in itself is an act of love, perhaps one of the deepest. If these words resonate with you, if you feel a stirring of recognition in Linda's story or in your own reflections, I invite you to subscribe. Because in the coming steps, we'll explore gentle ways to set boundaries that keep your heart open, your relationship strong, and your future secure. When money becomes a constant source of worry, it doesn't just touch your wallet, it touches your whole body. Stress about finances has a way of settling into the nervous system like a quiet guest who refuses to leave. You may notice your sleep becoming lighter, your shoulders carrying tension, your patience thinning in ways that surprise even you. This isn't weakness, it's biology. The body interprets financial anxiety much the same way it interprets physical danger. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline rise, blood pressure edges upward, and over time, the immune system begins to lose some of its strength. What once was a passing worry becomes a physical state, shaping your health in ways you never intended. Think of it this way. When you consistently give money to your adult children at the expense of your own stability, you're not only draining your bank account, you may also be asking your body to carry a load it was never meant to sustain at this stage of life. The irony is painful. You give to keep your children safe and comfortable, but in the process, you make your own well-being less secure. I've spoken with people who didn't realize until years later that their constant backaches, their restless nights, their shortness of breath were all tied not just to aging, but to the ongoing pressure of financial strain. It's easy to overlook because money stress doesn't leave a bruise, but its impact is just as real. You've carried responsibilities for decades, and your body has faithfully adapted. But as the years go on, the reserves aren't what they once were. The recovery time is slower, the margin for strain is thinner, and the need for peace becomes greater. It's not about giving up on generosity, it's about honoring your body as much as you honor your children. Imagine how different your days might feel if you woke up knowing your retirement was protected, if your heart could rest from the worry of what if something happens tomorrow. That calm isn't just financial, it's deeply physical. Your blood pressure steadies, your mind clears, your energy slowly returns. That's the kind of stability your body craves now, and you have the power to offer it. Ask yourself gently, how often do I feel tension in my chest when I send money? Do I ever lie awake replaying numbers in my mind instead of sleeping peacefully? These are not small questions, because your answers may reveal that the gift of money is costing you more than dollars. It may be costing you health. You deserve better than that. And sometimes the greatest act of love toward your children is showing them that your health and your independence matter too. When you guard your well-being, you also guard theirs, because you're preventing the day when they might have to step in to care for you under stress. This shift doesn't have to happen in one bold move. It can begin with a single choice: to place your own stability at the center, to give when it feels light, and to pause when it feels heavy. In those pauses, you are not withdrawing love. You are building a future where peace has room to grow. Sometimes the most powerful changes in life come not from sweeping decisions, but from small, steady adjustments. You don't need to suddenly stop helping your children or draw harsh lines. Instead, you can begin by gently reshaping the way you give, so that it supports them without draining you. One practical step is to decide on a clear budget just for this purpose. Think of it like setting aside a little envelope marked gifts or support. The amount should be modest, no more than what you'd feel comfortable spending on a personal hobby or a vacation. This way, you honor your desire to help while keeping your retirement safe. It can feel strange at first to put a number on generosity, but boundaries are not cold. They are acts of love in disguise. Another step is to practice open and compassionate communication. When a request comes, instead of saying a flat no, you can use gentle words that affirm your care. A phrase like, "I love you deeply, and because I want to stay strong for years to come, I can't offer money right now, but I can offer my time," carries both honesty and warmth. It teaches your children that love isn't measured by dollars alone. You might be surprised at how often they respond with understanding once you speak with clarity. Offering alternatives can also soften the shift. Maybe you can cook a few meals when times are tough, help with babysitting, or even share your skills, guidance with budgeting, job searching, or home management. These forms of support often last longer in value than a transfer of money, and they strengthen your relationship without weakening your future. Another helpful practice is to check in with yourself every 6 months. Ask quietly, "Am I giving more than I planned? Am I still feeling safe in my retirement?" If the answer is yes, you can continue. If not, you can gently adjust. This regular review gives you confidence because you know you're steering your ship rather than being pulled by every wave. I remember an older gentleman, Robert, who once told me that the first time he explained to his daughter why he could no longer help her with rent, he felt sick with guilt. But when he instead offered to help her brainstorm ways to manage her expenses, she began to see him not as a bank, but as a guide. Over time, their relationship deepened. He told me, "I realized I hadn't stopped being a father. I'd just become a different kind of father, one who gives wisdom instead of dollars." That shift brought him peace. And perhaps that is the heart of this practice, turning help from obligation into choice, from silent resentment into open love. These steps aren't about denying your children. They are about reclaiming your own dignity while still nurturing the bond you've built over a lifetime. When you allow support to flow in forms that don't endanger your retirement, you free both yourself and your children. And in that freedom, love can breathe again. There comes a time in life when love asks to be redefined. In the younger years, it may have meant providing, rescuing, stepping in whenever your children stumbled. But as you move into the later chapters of life, love begins to look different. It becomes less about carrying others and more about showing them how to walk their own path. Real love is not measured by how much money you give. It's reflected in the presence you offer, the wisdom you share, and the dignity with which you care for yourself. Think about it. When you preserve your retirement, you're not only protecting your future, you're protecting theirs too. Because if your resources run out, the burden may eventually fall back on them. By safeguarding your independence, you're giving them the reassurance that they won't have to rescue you someday. That, in itself, is a powerful act of love. I once spoke with a woman named Eleanor, who at 74 decided to stop lending money to her daughter. It was a painful choice, one that kept her awake at night for weeks. But later she told me, "I realized I wasn't turning away from my child, I was turning toward myself, and in doing so, I gave her the gift of watching me stand strong." Her daughter, after the initial hurt, began to respect her boundaries, and their relationship slowly deepened in new ways. These are the quiet lessons of aging. That love matures just as we do. It shifts from doing everything for others to teaching them through example. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to show your children that boundaries are possible, that self-respect is necessary, that security in later years is not negotiable. You might ask yourself, how do I want my children to remember me? As someone who gave until nothing was left? Or as someone who modeled balance, wisdom, and strength? The truth is, your presence, your laughter, your stories, and your gentle guidance will be remembered far longer than any money you ever handed over. And perhaps this is the deeper calling of this season of life. Not to pour yourself out, but to live in such a way that your children see the beauty of resilience, the grace of limits, and the strength of quiet independence. If these words resonate with you, I invite you to subscribe so we can keep reflecting together on what it means to age with dignity and wisdom. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever felt torn between helping your kids and protecting your retirement? Share your thoughts in the comments. I believe your story could bring comfort to someone else walking the same path.